All-Star medals and captain Cork to 2014 All-Ireland victory. And if you're just reflecting on the league so far, we see Galway and Kilkenny, the top two, fighting it out in the divisional finals. And Kilkenny overcame Tip by 4 points and Galway beat Limerick by a point. Are the two best teams in the final, do you think?
I think it's very hard to engage whether or not the form of the two teams is the reason why both of them are in the final, because the league is very much sometimes for some inter-county panels a chance to experiment. So I do think that Galway and Kilkenny have produced form that justifies them being in the finals, but I would have to look at the likes of Limerick and Tipperary in the semi-finals and the progress that they've made in the last 12 months. And I suppose for them, they will be very much contenders to the All-Ireland. And then you have Cork, of course, the current All-Ireland champions, who, despite the fact by their own standards would have had a disappointing league campaign, will certainly learn a lot and will be thereabouts for championship again.
Yeah, and mainly one of the traditional powerhouses in Camogie, Wexford, had a disappointing sort of league there. They're normally are they a team that could come championship, or is Wexford a bit on the slide?
No, I think, if you look at any powerhouse in any sport, there's always going to be a dip in form. And I think for Wexford, they were minus some of their players, or the Owler Dybala players in the early on stages of the league, because they were involved in club championship. And then obviously there was the blow for them with Ursula Jacob announcing her retirement. Ursula Jacob has been like the stalwart forward for them up front for over the last decade. So for them losing her, I suppose there would be a transitional period and trying out new players and looking for players to step up into fill Una or Ursula's boots. So, I wouldn't be worried about them so much, because, you have to make sure that everything you're doing in the league translates well into championship. They have younger players that they're no doubt testing as well. And again, Wexford is one of those teams that if you write them off, you do so at your peril.
Yeah, and I was looking at the championship, the two groups, and there seems to be a few great Munster clashes in one of the groups, with Limerick, Cork and Waterford and Clare all in the same group. Local derbies, intense rivalries. I noticed that Clare are away to Cork as well, and Clare have made good progress, in the likes of Chloe Morey there and Naomi Carroll are probably two of the best Clare players. But Clare, maybe have they a chance possibly of coming out of this group, do you think?
Well, I just think you have to look at every single year. Championship is one of those things that it brings out the best of teams, but also, I suppose, it exposes any weaknesses they have. Clare is certainly one of those teams, along with Limerick and Tip in particular, that are showing enough form that would mean that they would have the capabilities to progress to the Final Four. And I think that is just about using the talent that you have, like those aforementioned players. And certainly there's a lot of others as well, Nevo D and the likes, that are capable of walking into any inter-county team in the country. So they do have the manpower. It's just about making sure that they put those players in the best positions, and also as well that they devise a game plan really to counteract the strengths of the other teams. Because, you look at the likes of Galway and Kilkenny in this weekend's league final. That's what they're going to be doing. They're going to be targeting the likes of Galway's Niamh Kilkenny, and even from a Galway point of view, they'll be targeting the likes of Denise Gall from Kilkenny up front, and they'll be saying, how can we counteract these players and make sure that we nullify their threat? Because when there's very tight games in the championship, that's what you're going to do. You can have a great 15 yourself, but you ultimately have to set your team up, yes, to play the best possible way they can together, but also the best way so that you make sure that you minimise the risks involved and you don't allow the other team to capitalise and get on top. So Clare are well capable of doing that, and they do have players coming up, but just hopefully they can put it all together and develop a consistency that the likes of Cork have produced in championship in the last year or two.
And we all know about Cork's pedigree, and Cork will be there or thereabouts, I'm sure, come the championship, come the finals, closing stages. But if I can just touch on the other group with Dublin, Tip, Galway, Kilkenny and Derry, and I suppose it's a big step up from Derry coming up to this first time at this level, and maybe with the likes of Tip and Galway and Kilkenny, but maybe Derry, Dublin, we all know about the big playing numbers Dublin have, but it's a tough group for Dublin as well. You expect Tip, Galway and Kilkenny just to be a bit above the other two, would you?
Yeah, but look at Dublin and their progression even in last year's championship. They would have been the controversy surrounding that coin toss, and they would have played Clare and come out of that, and it would have been a great way for them, a great platform for them to develop. And then they came on, they nearly beat Wexford a few days later in the quarterfinals. And I mean, Wexford are one of those teams that you'd always expect to be in around the final four. So for Dublin to have given them that fright, I'm sure it's going to give them the confidence to know that it's a building block and a stepping stone for this year. The biggest thing that any inter-county team has to do at the start of every year is develop their strengths as much as possible and their confidence and the belief in themselves. Because, I mean, when we won the All-Ireland in 2014 with Cork, we hadn't won the All-Ireland for 5 previous years. So I'm sure there was plenty of neutrals saying that time, our Cork on the slippery slope, or, is that the end of the reign of Cork Camogie? So every year there's always going to be people looking for a reason to put you down, whereas you have to look within your own camp and the likes of Derry and Dublin and say, well, if we don't make steps towards progressing to the final 4 or the final 2, then, if you listen to all the bad talk, you're never going to get anywhere. So, the management of all these teams are going to have them well prepped to make sure that everything they do in every game they go out and play, they do so with pride in their jersey and with confidence in their ability, because you have to start somewhere. And look at, even Leicester City, yeah. They show that, the underdog always has a chance.
And it's been great talking to you, and we hope to we wish Cork all the best, and we hope to see you on our screens doing great work with Camogie in the future. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Tim. Appreciate it.
Cheers.